to start with something that I experienced a few weeks ago. I won't go into details, not today, but I will tell you this. I was at a gathering where I had my integrity questioned by people I thought should have known better, in a system that I thought was supposed to support me, a system where I was taught if I was honest and loyal and hardworking and dedicated would give me a return on my investment and pay out in royalties and dividends. And it's a rarity that I'm shocked by things. But this system surprised even the parts of me I thought I'd mastered in navigating the nonsense. I found myself explaining things I'd already explained, defending things I'd already proven, and then suddenly I found myself spending more energy convincing people of my integrity than actually doing the work. And funnily enough, the first thing I felt wasn't anger. I don't even think it was sadness. It was exhaustion, real exhaustion. Not that kind of tired that goes away after a good night's sleep, whatever the heck that is. The kind that lives in your bones. The kind that's been there so long you forget it's not just a part of your personality. And I thought, this is the episode I need to record. This is what we need to talk about. Because if you're a person of color, a woman, a single parent, a budding professional, part of some recognized or unrecognized marginalized group, you know that exhaustion. You've probably been carrying it for so long you call it something else. Maybe you do like I do, and you call it being strong. Maybe you call it being professional. You call it keeping it together. You have resigned yourself to the inevitability of whatever the heck this is called. But I want to talk today about what this actually is and what it's doing to us. Let's start with something simple. Systems are not neutral. I need you to really hear that. Because we spend a lot of time, especially those of us who work inside systems, who are educated by systems, who are trying to change systems from the inside, so all of us, we spend a lot of time acting like the playing field is level. Like if we just work hard enough, document well enough, speak carefully enough, dress right, talk right, show up early, stay late, do the most, we act like the system is going to meet us where we are. And it won't. Not consistently, and not reliably, and definitely not without cost. I have a doctorate. I have an MBA. I have licensures and certifications and titles, and I've spent years building credibility in rooms that were not built for someone who looks like me. And yet, I still walk into spaces where I have to prove myself before I've said a single word. That's not a personal failing. That's a systemic reality. And here's what I know, both professionally and personally, about what this does to a person over time. It makes you tired in a way that's physiological, not metaphorical, actual, measurable, biological. There's this concept in public health research called weathering. It was developed by Dr. Arlene Geronimus in the early 1990s, and the basic idea is this. The chronic stress of navigating racism, of being Black in America, causes the body to age faster, literally, at the cellular level. This constant activation of the stress response, so cortisol, inflammation, elevated heart rate, etc., wears the body down over decades in ways that shows up as health disparities, shortened life expectancy, higher rates of chronic illness, and death. Weathering isn't a metaphor, it's biology. And when I think about the women I know, my best friend, my daughter, my colleagues, my clients, my friends, my mother, myself, I think about how much weathering we've absorbed without anyone ever naming it. Without anyone ever saying, hey, what's happening to your body is a response to an unjust load. It's not weakness. It's not failure. It's your nervous system doing exactly what nervous systems do when they're under sustained threat. And the problem with this is that the threat never stops. There's another concept I want to introduce. One that I think might be more accessible and more immediately recognizable for a lot of people. It's called racial battle fatigue. This term was coined by William Smith, who was a researcher, and it describes the physical and psychological toll of navigating racism on a daily basis, particularly in predominantly white institutional spaces, workplaces, schools, healthcare settings, government offices. And the symptoms look like this. Constant hypervigilance, always scanning the room, never feeling safe, always calculating. How do I say this? Am I going to be misread? If I give pushback, am I going to be labeled as aggressive? If I don't push back, will they walk all over me? Chronic frustration, the low grade, constant awareness that you're working twice as hard for half the recognition. Emotional exhaustion, not burnout exactly, but that too, but something more specific, morally injurious. The exhaustion of performing composure when you're anything but composed. Physical symptoms, headaches, tension, insomnia, GI issues, your body holding what your professional face can't show. And here's the part that gets me, both as a clinician and as a person who lives this way. We're not just battling over racism. We're battling the subtle kind, the nuanced kind, the kind that hides inside of a tone of voice, inside who gets believed in a meeting, inside who gets the benefit of the doubt and who has to earn it over and over again like it expires every Monday morning. The kind of racism that's harder to name, which makes it harder to process, which means it lives in the body longer. Now, I've sat and worked with clients for a long time now. Brilliant, accomplished, hardworking people of color, individuals from marginalized backgrounds, immigrants, children, people from all different religious backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds, you name it, who came to me presenting with symptoms of anxiety or depression. So let's start there, right? And yes, there was anxiety. And yes, there may have been depression. But underneath that, when we dug down, was this. The accumulated weight of being unseen, underestimated, and over-scrutinized in every space they occupied. The clinical presentation was real, but part of the source was systemic, and you can't treat a systemic wound with only an individual intervention. Now, I want to go deeper, because this weight we carry, it didn't start with us. Intergenerational trauma, or sometimes it's called historical trauma or transgenerational trauma, is the transmission of trauma responses across generations. It was first studied extensively in Holocaust survivors and their children and their grandchildren. And researchers found that trauma literally changes the way that genes are expressed, a field called epigenetics. The body of a traumatized person passes down a kind of biological memory to their children. For Black Americans and other communities of color, the implications of this research are profound and quite painful. We're not just carrying our own wounds. We're carrying our parents' wounds, our grandparents' wounds, the wounds of people who survived things so terrible that their nervous systems rewired themselves. And then they pass those rewired nervous systems down to us. Think about what that means practically. It means that the hypervigilance many of us feel, always scanning, never fully relaxing, always feeling tense, quality of our nervous systems may not be entirely a response to our own experiences. It may be inherited. Heck, it may be ancient. It may be the body remembering things the mind was never told. I think about my own family. My mother is an immigrant coming to the United States. What she experienced. I think about what my father carried, a Black man from the South who built a life of dignity and purpose in a country that made that extraordinarily difficult. I think about what he never said, what he held, what he passed to me, not in words, but in the particular way he taught me to walk into a room, to speak clearly, to never give anyone a reason. That is love. And it's also transmission. He was preparing me for a world he knew I would have to navigate. A world that would require me to be twice as prepared, twice as composed, twice as credentialed. And I am. And it has served me. And it's also costed me. Because the preparation for a hostile world, the armor we put on, the code switching, the constant calibration, that armor doesn't just come off when you get home. It becomes part of how you move, part of how you breathe, part of what you pass down to your own children, whether you mean to or not. I want to be specific for a moment, because I think sometimes we talk about systemic trauma in abstract terms, and people have a hard time connecting it to what they're experiencing day to day. So let me name a few things. If you're a person of color, if you're from a marginalized background, if you're of the LGBTQ plus community, if you walk around with both seen and unseen disabilities, you may recognize some of these. You have trouble resting. Even when you have time to rest, something in you won't fully let go. You're always half ready for something to go wrong. You minimize your own experiences. When something racist or ageist or discriminatory happens to you, your first instinct is to question yourself. Did I misread that? Am I being too sensitive? Maybe they didn't mean it that way. You start taking up for other people. You've been so thoroughly trained to doubt your own perception that gaslighting yourself has become automatic. You're exhausted by your own excellence. You've achieved a lot, and none of it feels like enough to finally be safe. Because somewhere deep down, you know that the bar moves. You struggle to ask for help. Asking for help feels dangerous, and this is what you were taught. Like it confirms something someone has always suspected about you, that imposter syndrome. So you carry everything alone. You have physical symptoms with no clear medical cause. This has happened to me on so many occasions. Have you ever gotten your labs done, blood work, run a series of tests, met with series of specialists, all for all that information to come back where your labs are normal, and in essence, nothing is wrong? Chronic pain, digestive issues, skin issues, sleep disruption. Your body is saying what you're not allowed to say out loud. You feel guilty for struggling. You start comparing because you know people who've had it worse, because your parents sacrificed so much, because you're supposed to be strong. I want to say something directly to anyone who recognized themselves in that list. What you are experiencing is not weakness. It's not character flaw. And it's not ingratitude. It's an entirely rational response to an irrational amount of pressure. And you deserve support. So I want to give you some practical tools. Talk about a few things that I think may actually help. And like I said in the last episode, not a toxic positivity, just to meditate and manifest, but also in a real, grounded, this is what the research and my clinical experience supports way. So 1, name it. The single most powerful first step is calling it what it is. Not, I'm just stressed. Not, I'm being too sensitive. And definitely not subscribing to the Gospels according to one. Those individuals and their opinions about who you are and what they think you're made of. But I'm experiencing the cumulative effect of navigating systems that were not built for me. That is a real thing with a real name and a real impact on your health. Naming it is not complaining. Naming it is accurate. 2, find culturally competent support. If you are in therapy, wonderful. But I want to ask, are you and your therapist's values aligned? Is your therapist equipped to hold the racial dimensions of your experience, your background? Do you have to explain yourself before you can be heard? Do you really feel listened to? And culture doesn't necessarily have to do with being Black or white or Asian or what have you. It could be the culture of women, the culture of parents. Are you values aligned? Do you leave sessions feeling like you spent more energy educating than healing? You deserve a therapist who already understands the context or is willing to learn, who doesn't make you justify your reality before they can engage with it. There are several directories that you could look into. Psychology Today. Do some research before you choose a therapist. And it's okay if you don't feel aligned with the therapist that you're currently working with. 3, regulate your nervous system consistently, not just in a crisis. Your nervous system has been in a state of low-grade activation for a long time, and you can't think your way out of that. You have to work through the body. That means breath work, movement. Spend some time in nature. I know personally I love being by the water. The ocean calms me. It helps me to reset and sort of cleanse the multitude of thoughts that I'm navigating on a daily basis. I can't be at the ocean all the time, but it's certainly a wonderful screensaver. Physical touch, music that moves you. Create playlists for your playlists. Anything that tells your nervous system through sensation, not through cognition, that you're safe right now. Not forever, not in every space, but right now, in this moment, you are safe. Do that consistently, not just when you're falling apart, as maintenance. Practice for the fire before it happens. That's why we have fire drills. 4, protect your energy with intention. You can't pour from an empty vessel. We've all heard that, or some iteration of that. But I want to be more specific. You have a finite amount of energy, although you might feel like you have more. The systems you navigate are designed, whether intentionally or not, to drain that energy. That means you have to be strategic about where you spend it. Not every battle is yours to fight today. Not every slight requires a response. Not every room deserves your best self. Choosing where to spend your energy is not giving up. It is resource management. I like to tell clients and friends, we're not allotted the same amount of resources on a daily basis. So if you go into work on Monday with a migraine, your productivity level is probably going to be very different from Tuesday when you don't have that migraine. Guard your peace. Protect your energy with intention. 5, build community intentionally. Isolation can be one of the most dangerous things for people carrying systemic trauma. We need spaces where we don't have to explain ourselves, where we can be witnessed by people who already understand the context and are willing to learn. Find your people, protect that space, and invest in it. And if you don't have it yet, keep looking. It exists. Create it. Others may be looking for you as well. You deserve it. I want to close with something personal. The last few weeks were hard. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I'm constantly navigating systems that question me. I carry things I shouldn't have to carry. I had moments where I was genuinely not sure I had anything left. And then I sat down and I recorded this. Because here's what I know after years of clinical work and years of living in this body, in this country. The weight is real. The systems are real. The damage is real. And so is the resilience. Not the performed kind, not the I'm the strong Black woman archetype that asks us to be indestructible and then doesn't check on us when we're crumbling. I mean the real kind. The kind that shows up in the fact that you're still here, still trying, still building, still listening to a podcast about healing at whatever time of day this is for you. And that's not nothing. That is everything. You didn't survive everything you've survived by accident. You survived because something in you, something ancient and stubborn and magnificent, refused to stop. Honor that. And then please let someone help you carry the rest. My name is Dr. Carmela Maxell. This is Rooted in Rising. Take care of yourselves. And I mean that literally. If this episode resonated, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a review. Follow me on Instagram at The Real Carmela Maxell. And if you want to go into deeper themes, my debut novella, Bereavement, explores what happens when systems are designed to regulate grief itself. It's available on Amazon now. Link is in the show notes. See you next episode.